What's up, you guys? So today we're upgrading my OEM intercooler with the 271 front mount intercooler, which is perfect timing since summer weather is pretty much here. And the 271 front mount intercooler is a masterpiece inside and out, and it's such a strong system compared to the stock one that I have on right now. So I'm beyond excited to get it on. But before that, let's do some unboxing. So here's the box. Pretty big box here. It wasn't damaged or anything, so that's good. Within the box, we have another box. I'm guessing these are the charge pipes in here. And we have the 271 cutout. So if you want to change the color of the white one that's currently on the intercooler, you can use this to change it up to whatever color you want. And then we got some goodies. There we go. I actually have another one that looks like a 7-Eleven one, so this one's a Hot Wheel looking one. That looks pretty sick. Then we have the intercooler itself, which is huge. Let's get this thing out. Whoa. Here it is. Let's get this thing unwrapped for the reveal. Oh man, that looks sick. So here it is. This thing is massive compared to the OEM intercooler, and it looks really clean, especially this coating that they have on here. And this is also really nice. So let's keep unboxing. So here we go. We have the charge pipes in here. We have the clamps, and then also some more hardware. Here is everything. Got the hardware, the charge pipes, and we have the intercooler itself. And I did choose the option where I'm okay with receiving a small blemish on the intercooler, and hopefully the camera picks this up, but as you can see, there's like some light abrasions on here and as well on this side, but it's honestly not that bad, and I saved myself $100 with that option, and it doesn't affect the functionality of the intercooler itself, so it's a win-win either way. I don't really mind the small blemish, and there's always an option to get a brand new one without any of that, but everything else was still well packaged, as you saw, and 271 is always good with that. So shout out to 271 for the fast shipping and the great packaging as always. But anyway, let's get to installing this bad boy. Now, before we get to taking everything off and installing the intercooler, I wanted to go over what the intercooler really is for those who don't know much about it. So pretty much it reduces your car's intake air charge temps, meaning the compressed air that comes out of your turbo is very hot, and the intercooler cools that air down. But this intercooler is still pretty prone to heat soak, which can impact not only your car's power, but the stock intercooler's job to cool air. So the 271 intercooler will help drop those temps, and it's a huge intercooler core that'll for sure get your car more cooling, which equals more power. Anyway, let's get to installing, and I'll review the intercooler more afterwards and also go into more detail of what the 271 intercooler is really capable of. So to get started with the install, we will need to remove the front bumper. And if you guys haven't seen my video with my snorkel, I actually went over on how to take this front bumper off for the facelift. So go check that out if you need some help for that. And if you also have an aftermarket intake like me, you will also have to take this off. So I'm going to go ahead and take this off first, and then we'll move on to the front bumper. So once you have your intake off, we're going to go ahead and start with the top of the bumper. So there's going to be 12 clips up top. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So go ahead and take those off first. Once you have all the clips off, you also want to pry this upwards very gently so you don't break it. And then after that, we're going to go ahead and remove 3 screws on the side of the fenders here. So one here, second one here, and there's one in this little divot here, which is going to go this way. You'll just have to unscrew it. So from the bottom of the bumper, we are going to take 2 screws off. And then we also have 2 10mm bolts under there. And then we have 8 clips that we need to remove down there. And once again, I'll link the video down below on how I took this off for my snorkel. So it's more in detail in that video. But once you have that off, we're going to go ahead and unclip the clips underneath the headlights on both sides. And then we should be able to pull this out nice and easy. There we go. I have the front bumper off. And if you do have the Yofer front lip like me, you will need to remove some of the screws off just so it comes off completely. Once you have the front bumper off, we're going to go ahead and remove both the headlights. So we're going to have 4 10mm bolts. We have one here, we have one over here, and we have one on the side here. And then there's another one right here. It's a black bolt on top of the silver one right there. So just take those out, and then we'll have to pry the little tabs here nice and gently so we can get those off. So when you have those bolts off, we're going to go ahead and unplug the headlight, which is going to be this wire right here. It's hard to see, but that one right there on both sides. And it should be pretty easy to pop off. Just need to unclip it and just give it a good squeeze and pull, and it should be good. See this clip right here? We're just going to go ahead and unclip this wire loom from this on both sides. And it should come off pretty simple and easy. Then you're going to gently pull out these tabs here and here, and it should come off nice and easy here. There we go. And it'll be the same on the other side. Both headlights are off. We're going to go ahead and remove the OEM intercooler. So you'll need a 10mm socket for the 10mm bolt up there. Then we have 2 12mm bolts, which you'll need a 12mm socket, and then it'll be the same on the other side. And it is so handy to have a power tool so you don't have to bend in there and have to worry about breaking anything. So if you have one of these, I suggest getting one. Those bolts are off, so let's go ahead and remove the OEM front mount intercooler here. Just pull out on the bushings. And there we go. Then you want to remove these bushings up on top right here, since we'll reuse those later. And just set these aside somewhere safe. Here's a quick look at the size difference. So we have the OEM versus the 271. As you can see, there's a massive difference when it comes to the size and how well the airflow will be with the 271. And yeah, so let's keep going and get this thing on. So now we're going to go ahead and remove this plastic cover here. So it'll have 2 10mm bolts. Then there is one clip under here. If you do have the OEM airbox shroud, you will need to remove 13 clips from there. And since I already have that gone, I don't have to worry about that. And I just need to worry about these 2 bolts and one plastic clip under there. Let's get these off. So we got the 2 10mm off. There is a clip under here, this one, so you just need to get that off, and then you'll be able to take this whole thing off. And then we'll remove the ambient temperature sensor from the cover here. And then you'll just need pliers to unclip this little plastic part here, and it should pop off. And then for this one, the brown one, you're going to go ahead and pull the cover off a little bit, and then same thing, you're just going to squeeze that with the pliers and it should pop off nice and easy. And once you unclip those 2 clips, you'll take this off and it should be pretty simple. So now that we have that thing off, we need to remove this front brace. So we have 4 14mm bolts, and we have 2 12mm bolts here, and then the 1, 2, 3, 4 14 mils. We'll just have to take these off. Let's get this off. And once you have those bolts off, we're just going to go ahead and remove the aluminum bumper. And you may use a rubber mallet, but you can just kind of pry this off nice and gentle. and then we'll set this aside to put it back on later. So now we're going to remove the intercooler inlet hose. So it's going to be that clamp right here that we're going to loosen up, and that's going to be a 10mm socket. So go ahead and loosen that up, and then we'll pull it off from the car. I'm going to go ahead and that's why it's handy to have one of these magnetic tools so you don't lose your 10mm sockets. So once you have this clamp loosened up, we're going to go ahead and take the hose out. So you're just going to wiggle it downwards and it should pop off. So as you can see, it pops off pretty easily, and then we'll just pull it from under the car. And it should come out just like so. And then we're going to go ahead and remove the outlet hose, which has a 10mm clamp as well. So we're going to loosen that up, and then we're going to wiggle it free from the cold pipe, and it should be the same steps as well. Go ahead and loosen this up. So right here, when taking this off and you have the clamp loose, it might be stuck on the cold pipe, so you'll just kind of have to twist it off. But just be gentle about it, and it'll slide off just like so. There we go. So that hose is loose now. We're going to go ahead and move over to the front mount intercooler resonator. There's going to be a 10mm bolt right here, which we'll remove first. So I loosened up this one. Then there's going to be another one down here. As you can see, you're going to have to remove that one as well. So once you loosened up those 2mm bolts, there is another one behind the fender here, and you'll just have to remove it. And it's also a 10mm bolt as well. And once you have all of them loosened up, you should be able to pull this out. And it should come out pretty easily, just like the other one. And there we go. Here's a better look at the bolts that I took off. So there's one on the side here, and then there was one at the bottom there, and then this one back here was behind the fender, and that was the last one that I took off. And there's just those three, and you should be able to pull it out nice and easy, just like that one as well. So the first thing we're going to go ahead and do when removing the cold pipe is we're going to go ahead and remove these two 8mm bolts right here for the sensors, and then there is going to be a clip here that we'll need to use pliers for, and we'll have to take this hose off. And then there's two 10mm bolts back here, which we'll also need to remove. So I'm going to loosen up these two 8mm. Then we have the two 10mm bolts that I showed you back there. So once those bolts are gone, we're going to go ahead and use pliers to unclip this hose right here. And you want to be really careful so you don't break the hose itself. Go ahead and unclip this. Once you have the clamp off, you're just going to take the hose off as well. And I don't have hose pliers, so I just used a flat head screwdriver to slowly pry it off without ripping the tube, and it should come off pretty easy, and we'll go on from there. I'm going to go ahead and remove the hose bracket right here, which uses a 10mm socket, and then the hose clamp on the throttle body back here, and then we'll go ahead and take the cold pipe off. And here's the cold pipe. You just want to be really cautious with your sensors, so just be safe with those, and we'll go ahead and use them once again later. And so we're going to go ahead and remove these shrouds right here. There's one on this side, and there's another one over there. You could trim them, but I'm just going to take these off because we're not even going to use them. So just unclip these two clips, and they should come right off. So once you have the shroud off here, we're going to get the poly bushings that came with the 271 intercooler, and we're going to go ahead and place it down this way, just because there's a cone-shaped install in here. So make sure that you put this face down with the smaller hole and the bigger hole up top. So just going to put it like this, and then also on the other side here. Then you want to take your 271 front mount intercooler and put it on top of those bushings, but you don't want to put them all the way in yet. So just place this guy onto here. Now I suggest starting from one end, like you saw. So I'm gonna go in from this way and then hook it around on that side so that it fits perfectly on here. Swing this one on this side. And it is gonna be a pretty tight fit here, so you might have to force it a little bit on this left side, but that's totally fine because all of this is just plastic. There we go. And it'll sit on there nice and secure for right now. So here it is. It's gonna hook this way, and then on this side you'll also kind of have to hook it that way. And here you will grind a little bit, but that's okay, it's not going to damage anything. So let's move on. So now before we secure the 271 front mount intercooler, there is a nub that's going to be on the core support here, and I just took a flathead screwdriver and hammered it off, and I used a knife to just kind of even it out on both sides here. And you can use a Dremel or a chisel, which is probably going to be way easier, but take those off before we move on. So now to secure the 271 front mount intercooler, we're going to take our OEM top bushings and transfer them over here. And then there are two options to secure this on the core support here, and that is either the bolt and the riv nut. And unfortunately, I don't have my riv nut tool with me, so I'm just going to do the bolt and nut option, which is totally fine. I'm going to take these bushings. What you want to do is you want to flip them, so facing down this way. I'm going to insert it onto here, and there we have it. Now we're going to get these and put them onto the intercooler. I already did the other one, and it's a pretty tight fit, so you're going to put a good amount of force onto the nub right here, and we're going to go ahead and secure it with the nut and bolt. So you're going to place the nut and bolt through there, and then I suggest using a 10mm wrench to hold the nut back there while you're tightening this. Hold it with the wrench and then tighten this up. Once you tighten it up nice and snug here, the driver's side is going to be centered, and then the passenger side is going to look a little off-centered, which is completely normal, and that is what it said on the instructions as well. So no need to worry about it not being centered for both. Moving on, we're going to go ahead and connect the cold side silicone, which is this big one right here. And then we're going to get the 67 to 75mm hose clamp. They're going to have little writings on them just to show you the sizes, so just make sure you have the right one. And we're going to go ahead and take this nut off here, all the way off. And then what you want to do is place it 2 threads back. So just a couple twists, it should be good like that. We're going to get this clamp and we're going to put it through there. It's going to face this way, and 271 does suggest using blue tape just to kind of orient it this way, and it stays like that, so go ahead and do that. Then it has to be facing towards this way, and then we're going to go ahead and tape it like this. There it is, it's taped upwards just how it's supposed to be for right now, and it's pretty tight in there, so make sure that you have it placed just like so. So now we're going to take the outlet silicone pipe here, which is the biggest one out of all of the pipes, and we're going to orient it onto the front mount intercooler down there. So now you're inside my engine bay right now actually, and I'm just going to push in the pipe all the way over here, and you want to make sure it meets with the end of the front mount intercooler piping on this side. So just make it as flush as you can towards where the clamp that we secured earlier. So it's going to look like this right now. We're not going to tighten the clamp yet, and then you just want to make sure that it's super flush onto the tank as much as you can that way. Now we're going to get the hot side silicone pipe, which is the second biggest one from the charge pipes that were included, and we're just going to slide it down into the down pipe over here for now. I'm just going to place it through the down pipe here. So now we're going to get the 67-75mm clamp once again and do the same thing. Just take the nut off and then thread it on like a couple twists, and that should be good. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna place it onto the top of the hot side silicone here for right now, and it'll sit on there just like that for the time being. We're not gonna connect anything to the turbo outlet yet. We're gonna go ahead and connect the hot side silicone to the front mount intercooler down there. Not a lot of space, so just do your best to get it on there nice and flush like we did on the other side. So after a few tries, got it on. Make sure the clamp is facing you and just make it as flush as you can towards the front mount intercooler. Now we're just going to go ahead and put back the aluminum bumper here and the plastic cover. So when you have both of those back on, we're going to go ahead and reinstall the headlights. So just the way you took it off, do it reverse, and it should be pretty easy from there. Got the headlights back on. Now we're going to relocate the ambient temperature sensor. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to zip tie it to this hole right here. Right there, there's a little hole there. I'm just going to zip tie it there. There you go. So it's going to look just like that, and it should be set and secured. And then going back up here, we're going to go ahead and remove the throttle body that was on the cold pipe over there. And we're just going to set this aside. And we're going to grab one of the 70 to 78 millimeter hose clamp. And then we're going to get the silicone elbow, which is the last charge pipe, and we're going to set it over to where the throttle body used to be. So what I'm going to do is going to place the silicone elbow here, and I'm just going to put the clamp over it as well while I'm screwing it onto the throttle body there. So it's going to look like that. The clamp is all the way over there. Just make sure the silicone elbow is flush to the throttle body as far as you can that way. Then we're going to grab the 76/84 millimeter hose clamp. We're going to put it at the bottom of the silicone elbow here. And then we're going to grab the cold pipe and we're going to put it into the throttle body here. Once you have the cold pipe as flush as you can with the throttle body up there, we're going to go ahead and insert it from the bottom as well. But before that, we're going to get the 76/84 millimeter hose clamp and put it over the silicone down here and then insert this guy. I'm going to insert this now. Get it up there as flush as you can. So before we tighten the clamps up, I did put back the bracket here with the provided M6 bolts. So just going to put that on there and make sure it's nice and flush and snug as well. And then these clamps, this bottom one, make sure that you tighten it from this angle, and this one should be facing upwards towards you so it's easy for you to access. And just go ahead and tighten those up and we should be good to go from there. So I got all the clamps tightened up, especially the one back in the corner of the throttle body. Now we're just going to go ahead and get the sensors and put them onto the cold pipe here. First, we're going to go ahead and insert the map sensor at the top one. So it's just going to go in here, just like so. Then the next one, what we're going to do is get the temperature sensor. It's going to go downwards like this. Just make sure it's on there nice and secure. And after that, you're just going to get the OEM bolts that came with it. And these are the 8 millimeter bolts that came from the other cold pipe, the OEM one. So we're just going to go ahead and reuse that. And you're just going to plug them both in. Once you hear the click, they should be pretty set in there. And the last thing we're going to do is we're going to get the rubber hose here, and then we're going to insert it to this part. Just going to take this, plug it over onto here. Make sure it's flush all the way to the bottom of this thing. And then we're going to get the clamp and get it secured all the way at the bottom. Here we go, and then you just adjust it if you need to. Get some nose pliers and you should be good. Then you're gonna grab the hose bracket that was on the OEM cold pipe, and we're gonna rearrange this a couple ways. So we're gonna take the top one out first, and then how we're gonna do this is we're gonna make it go this way, just like that, and then we're gonna take this bottom one and we're gonna flip it to the side. There we go. And then we're just gonna go like this, and it should look like that. So going back to the cold pipe, there is one slot here, as you can see, and we're gonna put the hose bracket and put the hose into the hose bracket, but only this one. The other one is just gonna float free. That shouldn't be a problem. So just go ahead and put the bracket there, and then clip this hose onto it. So the bracket is gonna be oriented like that. We're just gonna grab this hose here. We're gonna clip it over. And there we go. It's gonna look like that afterwards. And that pretty much completes the install for the 271 front mount intercooler. Now all you gotta do is put everything back, but before doing so, just make sure that all the clamps are well and secured in here, and just double check everything. But I'll see you when I have my front bumper on, and I'll go over on how this thing looks and how it performs. Here we have it. So the install was pretty smooth, and some parts were a little tricky, but if I can do it, you can do it too, which is what I love about 271's products. They're really good at making the install really easy and leaving you satisfied with their high quality performance products that redefine your car's performance. Now, going into detail about the improvements of the 271 front mount intercooler, according to the test that 271 ran, the temperature compared to the stock intercooler had an average about 311 degrees Fahrenheit, and it dropped to 95 degrees Fahrenheit, which is a huge amount of improvement. And pretty much lower temps, better boost power, and overall performance is what you get from that. And what I love about this package is that it came with the 271 boost hoses, which are made of 4-ply reinforced silicone, like the silicone I have on the intake here from 271 as well. Very strong stuff, and all the clamps are well tight and they will not pop off whatsoever, so you don't need to worry about anything coming loose or anything breaking whatsoever. And adding on to that, we got better airflow overall and more boost from the 271 front mount intercooler. And now, what are the performance improvements? So as to 271's dyno testing, the results with this drop-in equals 20 plus wheel torque and 15 wheel horsepower at 4100 RPM, and that is without a tune, which is actually crazy, and it's a good amount of performance improvement. And on top of that, the 271 front mount intercooler actually made more power everywhere after 3400 RPM with less boost. And apparently, if you have a custom tune with this front mount intercooler from 271, you can make even more power, which is really nice. And I'll probably do that in the future, but not anytime soon. Overall, I'd say the improvements are there, especially with the throttle response. Every time I do a pull or go a little bit crazy, the car feels so much more smooth compared to how it used to be with the OEM front mount intercooler. And the size difference in the piping in this kit helps reduce turbo lag and improves the overall response, and it's for sure there. So I highly recommend this intercooler if you plan on doing some more performance mods in the future. And as for me, since I have other bolt-ons myself from 271, I'm happy that I finally got this piece to further support them. And also, if you want to learn more about the 271 front mount intercooler, I'll link it down below for you guys to check out and read more about it if you'd like. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. This was a fun one, and once again, thank you 271 Performance for the great shipping and customer service as always. And stay tuned for the next one. And as always, stay safe and drive safe out there, you guys.